going there, YouTube? Back again on the MODrod. So, I got the front suspension mounted. I was just out here brainstorming, and off camera, of course, and I figured out which of the existing brackets that came on the fj9 chassis I was going to use. The servo mounts work best. They have one bottom hole, two top holes, and it just happened to fall at the right spot. Yeah, it kind of pulls the radius arms out away. You know, they're not perfectly parallel, so that's going to help keep the front end rigid, and it's not going to sway side to side as bad as it normally would. I mean, it's just maybe 2 or 3 millimeters. I've done that before on some other RatRod builds. I've been sitting there staring at this for a week and a half now, and something was bothering me about it. You saw I cut the body, cut 15 millimeter, yeah, I cut 15 mil off the bottom of the body. It was just a little too tall for this. The motor set too low in relation to the cowl and the grill itself too. So now I had to clearance the back out even further for the spine of the chassis. But now the intakes here on the motor are pretty parallel with the hood, and also notch the front and stuff so it fits right up against those chassis connection brackets. And yeah, I don't know if the front end may be too long. I just used a piece of that carbon fiber to hold the to act as a steering tie rod there. Not going to work for long-term use, but I thought the front end was going to be too long, but now I'm kind of digging it. But we still have to incorporate some kind of front suspension, so that's that length can always change. It probably will change. But I'm digging the cab. I thought about chopping the top of the cab. Let me know what y'all think. I don't know. I'm happy with where the rest of it sits, but the proportions might be off a little bit with the roof. I just can't go a whole lot because of the curve of the cowl. I'm going to end up with absolutely no window in the front, in the center. It'll be touching bottom top, but I don't know. Still on the fence about removing the front diff. I've seen a lot of comments about using it to motorize things, intakes, exhausts, stuff like that. That'll be something that'll come towards the end, so I'm not too worried about that just yet. But I think right now, the body's still not mounted, it's just sitting on there. So I'm going to come up with some kind of body mount. I want it to be better than some of the things I've done in the past, magnets and things like that. I'd like it to actually have a bracket. Since this chassis has a lot of holes available in the bottom that are already set up for flush M3 hardware, it'd be nice to utilize some of that, keep the bottom completely smooth and flat. That's the same thing I did on the radius arm mounts there with the servo mount. They use existing holes that were already recessed into the chassis, and yeah, kept everything on the bottom nice and smooth. But yeah, either going to look at body mounts or start looking at rear suspension. I don't know yet. Alright guys, the body mounts actually went pretty easy. I found some aluminum servo mounts again to the rescue. I don't even know what these were from. I think they were some spare RC four-wheel drive ones. And yeah, the existing holes on the spine part of the chassis. It just happened to be the exact length that I needed. I spaced them out away from the chassis with like a 2 or 3 millimeter shim and drilled some holes in the back of the cab, and body lays flush on the ground. And it sets on the front. The inside of the body has little lips that were mounting holes for the firewall, and we cut half of them off, and I trimmed them up to set over the edge of the frame and clear the aluminum brackets that are on there, and yeah, it just sits right where it's supposed to. So I'll show you a better side view here in a minute. First I wanted to show you the rear suspension. It's doing some weird stuff. If you look at it from directly above, which I can't really get my camera over there to show you, it's got toe out all the way down. At ride height it's pretty straight, and then at full lift, it tows in pretty far. It's kind of an odd design, I guess, being that it still has a steering knuckle type deal. You're getting some weird front end type geometry issues with that on the rear, but it's not going to affect anything, as most of the time it's either going to be here or all the way up, and when it's all the way up we'll have a little bit of toe in, which is good for driving. So I've got some of the Pro Air RC struts out. These are 130 millimeter and they are really tall, and you know, when it's aired down here, it won't be, if I bolted in the stock shock location, we're looking at that tall. So what I'm thinking, since I've got so much tire on this, you can see I've got about 10 mil between that first hole and the ground. So I'm thinking I may make some aluminum brackets to mount to 2 of these holes, drop down, and that'll give me a lower mounting point for the strut. So that way it'll be even shorter when it's compressed, just barely above the tire, and it won't stick up past the roof. But I'm not ready to tackle that yet. I'm trying to pace myself on this build, so we're going to wrap this one up here. I don't want to rush it. I don't have enough time to really get into that today. We got the front suspension mounted, we got the body mounted. Just little by little, I'm kind of getting overwhelmed right now with like making a firewall and trying to figure out the steering already and stuff like that. So it's a good time to take a break, and we'll just let it sit in the back of the shop again for a week and stare at it and wait for the inspiration to hit. But I'm digging the chopped look. I think that was the right move. I was scared to cut it up. I know this was a crap print body, but I was really in love with how the weathering came out on it, so I really didn't want to ruin it. But I finally took a chance and did it, and I think it works out best for this. And you can see it lays just flush on the ground, flush with the chassis. So hopefully we can keep that slammed look with the air suspension, and still have no idea how we're going to work the front. And you can see those struts are so gigantic that anything we do short of laying them down somehow is going to be intrusive looking to the design. So lots of brainstorming left to do, but I'm going to here. I appreciate you guys watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share, and follow along on Instagram and Facebook. Keep it scaled. I'll see y'all on the next one.